This training video is specific to the overhead bridge crane in the rail cell at West One. We will be talking about what it is and how it is defined, as well as safety and potential hazards associated with using this crane, controls, operation procedures, and what to do when you are done using the crane. The rail cell is a top-running single girder overhead bridge crane, which means that it is a single I-beam or girder which acts as a bridge across the two main beam supports that it runs on top of. Liftech has several overhead bridge cranes in both West One and West Two that are top-running single girder. These all function the same with just a few small differences. All of these are remote controlled with either a hardwired controller or a wireless remote control. This particular bridge crane has a magnet connected to it that is used to move our rails. While working at Liftech, safety is always the top priority. Every job here has its own hazards, and this includes overhead bridge cranes. Never walk or put any part of your body under a suspended load. The magnet can and has dropped materials before. Persons with a pacemaker may not need to be near while the magnet is in use. Some of the hazards associated with operating the rail cell bridge crane are hand placement, swinging magnet and rails, electric shock, crushing hazards, and an ever-changing tripping hazard. There are multiple ways to trip and fall in this area. Stepping off of the rail bundles onto the floor, wooden slats, bolted down tubing, oils, and debris are all present and a high risk for falls. Please stay alert for where you are stepping and walking in this area. There are always additional hazards to watch for as well. Please use caution and work safely. The remote for the rail cell overhead bridge crane consists of a charging port on the back of the remote, on-off toggle switch, an e-stop button on the top, and operator function keys on the front. The operator function keys include a forward and reverse button for the bridge, forward and reverse button for the trolley, up and down keys for the hoist, and a hoist to button. The bridge forward button moves the bridge west toward the back of the plant, and the bridge reverse button moves the bridge east toward the front of the plant. Trolley forward moves the trolley on the bridge south or towards the parking lot, and the trolley reverse moves north away from the parking lot. If you are standing in the truck aisle facing the rail cell, trolley forward moves left and trolley reverse moves right. The next line of buttons are the hoist buttons, hoist up and hoist down. These are used to move the magnet up and down. Below the hoist up and hoist down buttons, you will find a hoist to button. When the hoist to button is pressed while using the hoist up or hoist down, it will go into a high-speed up or down movement. The magnet itself only has two buttons of operation, on and off, indicated by the green and red colors respectively. When you are ready to lift, simply push the green buttons to magnetize. When you are releasing a load, you will need to randomly press, hold, and release the red button several times. Once you have disconnected the charger from the remote, you are ready to turn it on. In most cases, the e-stop button has not been pushed in. The way to check for this is to twist the e-stop button clockwise. Once the e-stop button has been verified, you can turn the toggle switch to the on position. This is done by twisting the slot style switch clockwise about 45 degrees. The designation on top of the remote is a 1-0 or an I-O. 1 or I is on. O or 0 is off. Once the switch is turned on, you can look at the front face of the remote in the upper left side and check for a flashing green light, which indicates the remote is on. We are now ready to begin using the crane. When using the bridge movements, please do not repetitively press and release the forward or reverse buttons. Doing so will cause jerky movements that can damage the contacts and or motor that moves the bridge. It is recommended to press the forward or reverse button and hold it down until you get to where you need to go. When you release the forward or reverse button, you may need to press the same directional button after a second or two to catch the swinging magnet. This will help reduce twisting of the bridge girder and the swing of the magnet. Using this tactic will not risk damage to the contacts or motor because the swinging momentum of the magnet helps the bridge restart from a stop easier than when the magnet is stationary. Trolley operation runs a little smoother than the bridge forward and reverse and is not as critical bumping the forward or reverse buttons. Operators frequently need to make small movements with the trolley to achieve proper placement of the magnet for lifting. Use caution when releasing the trolley forward or reverse buttons from long movements because the trolley will not stop immediately, commonly called as run. You will need to know where you want the magnet and release the button a little before you get to where you want to be. If you overrun your target area, simply bump your trolley forward or reverse until you get to your desired location. When the magnet is at your target location, it is time to hoist down to lift the rails. Press hoist down until the magnet sits down on the rails, but be careful not to let too much tension off of the cable winch on the trolley. You will want the magnet to fully sit on the rails with just a little bit of tension let off of the winch. Excessive slack in the cable can cause it not to rewind properly and will cause premature failure of the cable. The ideal placement of the magnet is in the center of the rail's length and fully across the bundle, applying maximum magnetism to the load. The orientation of the magnet should be with the long side of the magnet being perpendicular to the length of the rails. The reason for this is because the bottom of the magnet has two gaps or insets that can cause a loss of magnetism on a rail if they are not making full contact with the bottom of the magnet. Once the magnet is sitting flat on the bundle in the center of the rails and perpendicular to the length of the rails, it is time to engage the magnet. Simply press the green button to turn on the magnet. You should hear the rails click once magnetized. Disengaging the magnet is not as simple as pressing the red off button. When you are ready to release the magnet, you will need to do a series of random press, hold, and release of the red off button until the rails release. Press the hoist up button to begin lifting the load. If the load seems to be too heavy to one side, slowly lower the load back down until it safely and fully rests on the surface below. Turn off the magnet by a series of press, hold, and release of the red off button on the magnet until the rails release. Slightly lift the magnet up with the hoist up button until it is completely off of the rail bundle. Next, hit the trolley forward reverse button until you get closer to the center of the load and then lower the magnet fully back on top of the rail bundle. Press the green on button on the magnet and re-energize the magnet. Operating the crane with a load of rails is the same as with no load. Bridge forward and reverse movements still need to be long movements, minimizing the quick stop or start of the crane, which results in jerky conditions. Trolley forward and reverse are still smooth movements, but the run of the trolley after the forward or reverse button has been released can be greater with the load than without a load. Press and hold the hoist down button to begin lowering the load. It is not good practice to use the hoist to button while lowering loads because if you were to suddenly release both buttons, the hoist would quickly stop from high speed and create excessive tension or stretching on the cable and winch. Should you need to stop the progression down, the hoist down button can be released when needed and restarted without issue. When you are done using the RailSail overhead bridge crane, please leave the magnet sitting on the ground or on a bundle of rails with the magnetism turned off. Turn off the remote control and place back on charger.